It's pretty wild when you stop and think about it. Our entire modern world runs on something that's completely invisible. It's instantaneous, it's everywhere, from the way you pay for your coffee to how you find your way across town. We are just swimming in a constant sea of information, traveling on waves we can't see or feel. So let's pull back the curtain and get into the story of how we cut the cord and kicked off this invisible revolution. It is incredible to think that just a relatively short time ago, every single long-distance conversation, every telegraph message, every bit of information, it all had to travel down a physical copper wire to get from point A to point B. Our world was literally physically tethered together. Fast forward to today, and our entire reality is built on this foundation of invisible waves. So how in the world did we make that monumental leap? Well, to find that answer, we've got to rewind the clock all the way back to the late 1800s. Back then, electricity was kind of the new frontier of science, this mysterious, powerful force that had the world's greatest minds totally hooked. And the whole idea of a wireless world didn't actually start in a lab with some big experiment. Nope. It started as a pure prediction, a mathematical theory of all things. There was this brilliant Scottish physicist, James Clerk Maxwell, and he had a hunch. He theorized that electricity and magnetism weren't really separate forces. He predicted they could actually work together to create waves that could travel right through space, no wires needed. But, at this point, it was just an idea on paper. That is, until this guy Heinrich Hertz came along and proved it in 1887. His experiment was surprisingly simple. He built a little transmitter that could create a loud electrical spark. And then all the way on the other side of his lab, a tiny spark magically jumped across a receiver, and there were no wires connecting them at all. That was it. That was the proof. An invisible wave had just traveled across the room, exactly like Maxwell had predicted. So Hertz had just proven the existence of radio waves, without a doubt one of the most important discoveries in modern history. And yet, he famously said this: "It's just a perfect reminder that sometimes even the geniuses who discover something incredible can't possibly see the revolution they're about to start." The person who did see the potential was Guglielmo Marconi. Now, he was less of a pure scientist and way more of an entrepreneur. He saw Hertz's discovery and didn't just see a cool lab experiment. He immediately started thinking bigger, not just about a wave crossing a room, but about a wave crossing an entire ocean and changing the world. And he did not waste any time. While Hertz was just making sparks fly across a single lab, Marconi was aiming to span the entire globe. And by 1901, he did it. He successfully sent the first wireless signal a mind-boggling 2,200 miles across the Atlantic Ocean. The invisible revolution was officially on. Now, that first signal, it was just a tiny piece of information, the Morse code for the letter S, which is just 3 little dots. But its impact was immediate and profound. All of a sudden, ships out at sea were no longer cut off from the world. This technology became absolutely essential for maritime safety, most famously being used to send out the distress calls from the sinking Titanic, which helped save hundreds of lives that would have otherwise been lost. But, dots and dashes, as useful as they are, aren't exactly thrilling. So the next great challenge was to move beyond these simple codes and figure out how to send something way more complex and way more human through the air, the sound of our own voices.
So throughout the early 20th century, a bunch of brilliant inventors figured out how to modulate these radio waves. Okay, think of it like putting a message inside an envelope, right? The radio wave is the carrier envelope, and the sound of a voice is the message you stick inside it. This huge technological leap is what turned wireless telegraphy into what we all know now as radio, and it kicked off the golden age of broadcasting.
And this changed absolutely everything. For the first time ever, communication wasn't just one-to-one, it was one-to-many. A single broadcast could reach millions of homes at the exact same time, delivering news, music, stories. It helped unite entire nations during wartime with broadcasts like FDR's famous fireside chats. And it totally laid the scientific groundwork for what came next, sending moving pictures wirelessly with television. This was a massive leap forward, but the wireless experience was still tied to this big, bulky box sitting in your living room. The next phase of the revolution was all about making this technology truly personal and, this is the important part, truly mobile. And this right here, this is the moment it all changed. Now, people had put two-way radios in cars before, but this was different. Picture this, 1973. A Motorola engineer named Martin Cooper is standing on a New York City street. He picks up this heavy, brick-like device and makes the world's first ever handheld cellular phone call. The cord wasn't just cut, it was completely obliterated. And from that very first call, the pace of innovation was just breathtaking. The 1980s gave us 1G, with its kind of scratchy analog voice calls. Then in the 90s, 2G came along with clear digital calls and, more importantly, SMS text messaging. We literally started talking with our thumbs. The 2000s brought 3G, which put the real internet in our pocket for the first time. And then 4G in the 2010s made it fast enough to stream high-def video pretty much anywhere. And while all this was happening with our phones, two other massive things happened in parallel. Wi-Fi showed up and untethered our computers from those annoying Ethernet cables in our homes and offices. And then in 2007, the iPhone arrived. It merged all of this amazing capability into one slick device and basically turned the phone into a powerful pocket computer that completely remade the world. So that brings us pretty much up to today. We've gone from a tiny spark in a lab to voices in the air to supercomputers in our pockets. The next phase, well, it's about connecting not just people anymore, but connecting everything around us. You know, when we talk about the 5G era we're in now, it's really easy to just think about faster movie downloads on our phones. But the real revolution isn't that at all. The true game changer with 5G is its ability to connect billions of devices, sensors, and machines with almost zero delay. It's the foundation for what we call the Internet of Things. And this opens up possibilities that honestly sound like they're straight out of science fiction. We're talking about self-driving cars that are instantly communicating with each other and with traffic lights to prevent accidents, or farmers who can use remote sensors to know exactly which part of their field needs water. It could even enable surgeons to perform incredibly delicate robotic surgery from hundreds of miles away. What an incredible journey it's been. In just a little over a century, we went from connecting distant places to connecting people. And now, we're building a world where pretty much everything is connected to everything else, creating this kind of global nervous system made of invisible data. We've come such a long way from that first little spark in a lab, which leaves us with the biggest question of all. What are we going to build next?